Hello everyone, my name is Ellen and this is my final exam from Resources and ICT courses 2024-2025 at the University of Murcia. The exam is divided in two parts. The first part is about a project or my project, and the second part is about some questions I must answer. Let's start with my project, the first part. The topic of my project is recognize emotions, and I think it's an important topic for primary school. Every child should learn what kind of emotion exists and how to recognize them. You can also find this topic in the curricular requirement in Germany for primary school. So in the curriculum it says that the children have to name and compare emotions when viewing images, and they have to recognize their emotions consciously and express them appropriately. And also they should learn how to understand that emotions are an important part of life and reflect on how their own feelings affect successful social interaction. And they also have to learn specific terms for different emotion states, for example, anger, sadness, joy, being in love, and understand physical reaction linked to emotion. Okay, let's start with details. The project is for elementary school students in the 4th grade. The children are about 4 until 10 years old. In my class are like 20 students, 11 girls, 9 boys. The students are already very advanced cognitively, and we briefly touched on the topic of emotions in another class. Therefore, the children already had a small impression of the topic. For my project, I have turned to ChatGPT for help to further develop the ideas I already had in my mind. I especially searched ideas for a comic and for my third activity. The AI gave me the idea to do the task with a merge cube, but in the end I decided against it and made a quiz. The ChatGPT also gave me a few ideas and the learning app that I can use for it. Here you can see my conversation with ChatGPT. Okay, for my first activity, the students have to create a stop-motion video. For the task, I divided the students in 4 groups. Each group consists of 5 students. Each group gets one emotion, either fear, anger, joy, or sadness. First, the children need to think about how they want to express this emotion. I provide paper, pencil, or modeling clay that the student can use to create their video. Each group will get a tablet from the school for this work. The children prepare everything. Once everything is prepared, the children keep taking pictures of their things so that in the end a complete video can be created. In the end, all the photos are put together in a stop-motion app. We use stop-motion, or I use stop-motion studio, and the children create then their video with it. The video should be about 15 until 30 seconds long. Before we use the app, I complain to the children how this app works. In the end, the completed stop-motion video will be shown to each other, and the groups must guess which emotion it is. Here's an example for a stop-motion video. I choose the emotion joy. The goal of the task is to understand emotions, to recognize and name those of other groups. To make it a bit easier, at first only 4 emotions will be discussed. In addition, the children need to learn to work together in a group. The stop-motion app adds value by allowing students to express emotions creatively through visual storytelling. It improves their digital literacy, supports collaboration, and helps them understand emotional transition in a playful, hands-on way. Okay, my second activity, the children have to create a comic. The class will be divided in a group again, in 5 groups. for children, and the task is that the children have to create a comic with a change of feeling. For example, a child is sad because they lost a friend that helps, they become happy again. So the students need to choose two emotions that they want to use in their comic. Afterwards, the students are supposed to think about a short story in which the emotions become visible. They have to think about what happens, who is involved, how does the feeling change. With this short story, they should create a comic with 3 or 4 pictures. The children will be provided with paper and pencil for this. Here's my example. Children learn various competences, for example, emotional self and other perception. Children recognize emotional transition. Children use facial expression, colors, and symbols as means of expression. Children learn to put themselves into a character and reflect on feelings. Creating comics is a motivating and creative way to teach educational content. Children learn in a playful way to express emotions, structure stories, and work in a team. At the same time, it promotes their language, social, and design skills. For my third activity, I choose the quiz. For this task, the students will be divided into groups again. 5 groups of 4 children will be formed. In the small groups, the children consider what emotions should be tested, which scenes from their comics or stop-motion films are suitable, what answer could be confusing. To create the quiz, the children should use learningapp.org. This is very easy for elementary school students. With the app, you can create different types of quizzes. The group will get a tablet again. They are supposed to use the multiple choice feature on the website. Before we use this website or app, I will explain this to the students how to use it. The children can insert their own images or screenshots, for example, comic panels or picture and photos from stop motion. Or they can also search for images using the searching function. The quiz should include like 6 questions. When the children have finished their quiz, they play the quizzes of the other groups. The goal of the output is for the children to repeat the emotions they have learned. They reflect on which typical scenes, facial expression, and body language correspond to which emotion, and they create their own digital quiz for their classmates. Learningapp.org offers an easy-to-use platform for creating interactive quizzes. It reinforces emotional understanding by letting students turn their own content, for example comics or videos, into games, supporting both repetition and reflecting in a fun digital format. Here's an example for a quiz, or like my 6 questions. To assess the students' work, I use a rubric with 4 criteria: understanding of emotions, creativity and expression, collaboration and group work, and use of tools. Each criterion is rated on a scale from 1, needs improvement, to 4, excellent. The rubric helps evaluate how clearly emotions are shown, how creatively students express them, how well they collaborate in groups, and how effectively they use digital tools like Stop Motion Studio, comics, or learningapp.org. This structured evaluation ensures that both emotional learning and media competences are considered in a fair and transparent way. Okay, for my project, I use digital tools. Every time you use a tool to develop an activity, you should also evaluate that tool. I will evaluate my tool using the rubric for e-learning tools. I will use the criteria on privacy, data protection, and rights. I have used 2 apps in my project, learningapp.org and Stop Motion Studio, which I'm now evaluating. Learningapp.org allows students to play interactive activities without registration, which makes it very accessible in the classroom. To create a safe app or safe apps, a teacher account is required, and the platform only collects minimal data such as an email address. Content remains publicly visible unless marked as private. which is only possible when logged in, although users retain ownership of their content. Direct export to formats like PDF or Word is not supported, so students should avoid including personal or sensitive informations. For the stop motion video, I use the Stop Motion Studio app on my smartphone. This tool does not require users to sign up or log in, so no personal data is collected or shared. All content is created and saved locally on the device, so users retain full ownership and control of their material. The app also allowed users to export videos in standard formats such as MP4, making it easy to achieve or share the results. Now we are coming to the RICT framework. The RICT framework is a fundamental approach for the effective design of learning activities. RICT, which stands for Activity-Centered Analysis and Design, comprise three distinct dimensions: social design, epistemic design, and set design. I use the RICT framework for my three activities. For the social design, I used groups for every task. All students always had to work on the task, and they were given equipment provided by me. For the stop motion task, the children showed each other their work. Some of the pupils were the audience. Then in epistemic design, my students had to solve problems collaboratively within the group. In the first two activities, they always had to come up with the same story to create the comic or the stop motion video. In set design, we worked on all these tasks collaboratively in the classroom. For the comic, the students used pens and papers, and for the stop motion video, they used tablets or the telephone. The students had to take photos for the stop motion videos and also work with an app, just like for the quiz. Now you can see my cards I used. This was part 1, and now we're coming to part 2. They have to answer reflective questions. Now let's start. For question 1, I choose question 3. For this we have to explain supporting your justification with a diagram, and we have to choose 5 critical elements of this course that we would like or should include permanently on our PLE. Here you can see my diagram or my mind map. And personal learning environment, or like PLEs, like a PLE is the combination of tools, resources, activities and networks a person uses to support their language learning in a connected environment. And for me, these are like Canva, Lucidchart, Blogger, ChatGPT and Padlet. And I'm starting with Canva. Canva allows us to collaborate visually on projects like infographic and flyers. It helps translate complex ideas into accessible visuals. So I use it like for presentations. Then Padlet is like Padlet allows our group to collect comments and reflect on each other learning moments. We used it like in the class normally. And ChatGPT, this tool helped me brainstorm, rewrite, summarize and reflect more deeply in nearly all tasks, also like in this final exam. Also the Blogger is useful because it's helped me reflect on my learning, organize my work and build a personal achieve I can use in future studies. Or we use it like in every task we have to write a comment. And Lucidchart is useful for visualizing complex ideas, timelines and processes. I plan to use it in future teaching to help learners map their knowledge. Yeah, we used it also for like timelines for the tasks. So all in all, one element that reflects how my PLE could evolve in the medium or long term is Blogger, as I can continue using it beyond this course to document my professional growth, share teaching experience and build a reflective teaching portfolio over the time. Okay, the second question I choose is the question 4, and there we have to choose 3 areas or elements of the DIG Comperu framework. And we have to talk about what does it mean, and we have to show an example. My first element I choose is the reflection practice. The reflective practice means regularly thinking about and assessing your own teaching approaches and how digital tools affect your students' learning. It's about learning from experience and improved step by step. An example of my class or of the course is that in every role, like the star, analyst, translator, and whatever, we had to write a reflection and then evaluate what went well and what could be better. Especially during the stop motion and robots lesson, reflection on time management and student engagement taught us how to adapt and improve. Then the second element I choose is the creating and modifying digital resources. This competence is about creating or adapting digital content and materials to support learning needs, not just using pre-made resources. Here also an example from my course is that we created our own teaching materials and multiple tasks like the stop motion story, the robot activity, and especially when we adapt the data literacy game for primary school, we learned how to simplify and modify content to fit our learners' age and needs. For the third element, I choose the collaborative learning. The collaborative learning involves designing tasks that support students working together using technology to enhance this interaction. An example for this from my course is when we created the infographic on ethic AI principles, we had to coordinate as a team. We divided principles, paraphrasing the text together and designing the final layout. We used Canva, which allows us to work on the same design in real time. It was a clear example of how digital tools can enhance collaboration and learning processes. Okay, now we're coming to the last question, and this question I have to reflect myself in the class. I would give myself a 9 for this course because I always worked well in my group. I believe I have always supported our group well, and I even did an assignment almost entirely on my own once, so I think I deserve this. I would say the most challenging role in this course was the spotter. As a spotter, you had to do the most work. You had to read and compare different blogs and entries from other groups, and that was a lot of work. And then you also had to put it all together in a mind map at the end. For my exam, I used ChatGPT. I used ChatGPT for my exam preparation, but before I used the AI for help, I thought about my project by myself. Only afterwards I asked ChatGPT if it could give me more information for the individual tasks so that I could think further about my thought process. I also got help or ideas from others by discussing my task with them. I think the AI supported me in the sense that I took my thoughts further, but also gave me ideas that I thought were good. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.